in the MCA reading test. You'll either be scheduled to the Chromebook or you'll be in Lab 1 or the Business Lab. If you're in Lab 1 or the Business Lab, you'll be logging into a test nav icon that's on the desktop. If you're with a Chromebook, you just open the Chromebook, do not log in. On the lower left-hand corner where the apps are, click on Test Nav, it's called, just like this right here, and it will open up. You'll have to say Minnesota, and then it will finally get to a kind of a username password uh, page. This just says guest. This is a sampler, so this is something that will show you just like what you're going to see on the test, but it is not the test. You can see right here when you log in, it will tell you how many sections and how many questions there are. You'll hit start once you put your username and password in. It will say section 1, and where it says guest up here, it will actually have your name, and you'll go ahead and hit start. The first thing that shows up is a um, kind of a page that gives you a heading. And like I said, your name will be up here. There'll be a heading page, and then there'll be some tools up here that you can use. Navigation to the left, to the right, which means forward and back. If you want to go on to the next one, you can see that here's your first page of text. Your text could be a short story, could be a poem like this, could be something um, that you have to read, and then it would have a question over on the right hand side. So usually the left hand side is text, right hand side is a question. If you notice up here, section 1, one of 11 questions, you can go ahead and click on your answer that you'd like. Once you click on the answer, you can see that you can navigate left or right again. You can't go on to the next question until you've picked an answer. So you have to go ahead and pick an answer before you can move on to the next question. Now, if there comes a question that you're not quite sure about, you don't know the answer, but you want to go back and review it, you can go ahead and click the answer of what you can guess right now, but go ahead and click bookmark, and then go ahead and move on to the next question and continue. Now, there's a couple tools, not very many, and I suggest only using one of them, which is the eliminator tool if you want to use anything. Say letter A and letter D, you didn't like those, you knew they were not right, you can go ahead and click those. It will eliminate them. You can go back to the cursor and click on the one that you think is the right one. Navigation shows up. You can move on to the next question. So some questions are a little different, and you have to remember over here on the left hand side, you can see that there are certain lines of text. Don't forget to scroll down, because you will need to move down to see all of the lines of text, or sometimes there's paragraphs of information and you need to read 1, 2, 3, maybe 7 paragraphs of information to get all the answers that you want. So here it says collect or select 2 phrases from the poem that convey. So you might want to take a look at how many there are and read the question very carefully and make sure you pick your answer that you need to move on. So like I said, you can go ahead and click and move on to the next one. Now I'm 8 of 11. I'm just going to go ahead and click to get to number 11, which gets me back to that section review. So I'm guessing here. Here's a drop-down menu. So on this question for number 11, you need to choose some of the drop-down and make sure that you read it carefully, pick the best one, and then go ahead and click to the right. Now at the end of every section, you're going to see this. You're going to see all questions were answered, because you have to answer the questions in order to move on. But the bookmarks, I have one bookmark that I didn't go back to, and that was on question 3 where I put that bookmark. So I can go ahead and click on that, and I can go right back to question 3 and look at the question, read through whatever I need to look at, and change it if I'd like, or make it a different answer. Reviewing the questions, you can go ahead and look at every question that you answered, which ones were bookmarks, and I can go down to the section review, go down to the bottom and say, okay, I'm down near the end. If I've looked at my bookmarks, I've checked all my answers, I'm okay with the first 11, then what I can go ahead and do is submit. It will say, are you sure you want to submit? Because once you submit, you can't go back and look at any of them anymore, and you go ahead and click yes, and you're on to section 2. So section 2 might be about now rescuing the world's rarest porpoise. So I go ahead and click to the right. You can see that there's the first 2 paragraphs right here. If I scroll down, I now see there's way more down there that I need to go ahead and take a look at before I answer the question. Answer the question, navigation comes up, and I can move right. Now there's one thing I didn't talk about up here called the notepad. The notepad, you could take some notes on the section, you could review it if you'd like later on. Chances are, I suggest not to use this at all. We do provide scratch paper if you want to write down a note or two, because it's so hard to bring this back up and remember that it's there. So I suggest using your scratch paper instead of using that. But the eliminator functions there, and the pointer function, and going back in the bookmarks if you'd like that. Once you continue, of course, you're going to get to the end of all the questions. It might take you anywhere from an hour to maybe 2 hours, depending upon how fast a reader you are, how slow you are. At the very end of this, at the end of the sections, it will say, do you want to submit your answers for final? And you say yes, and you go ahead and close out and you're done. There's proctors in the room that they're qualified and trained. There's also your teachers in the room for your SSR. Go ahead and ask them some questions. Raise your hand if you have any questions on it. They can come around and answer anything that you need. When you're finished, you're going to put your stuff away. Make sure you grab your phone before you leave, because you're going to turn that in. And then you can go ahead and go out to the commons or the gym. We're going to have pairs out there to kind of watch you. Go ahead and grab some homework if you'd like and work in the commons, or just sit quietly, or you can go to the gym and shoot baskets or relax. So, but there again, left and right, review. You can review any questions that you'd like at that time. Bookmarks, you can bookmark any question and go back for later for review using the pointer. Do not probably use the notepad, but then go ahead and use the arrow eliminator to make sure you can choose or eliminate whichever ones you want. So, and like I said, if you have any questions, make sure that you ask.